WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our website, www.wvtcdetroit.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Hello, it is Monday at 4 o'clock, so it must be the Community Bell Show. Thank you so much for joining us again. It's always a pleasure to have you come to be with us on this Monday at 4 o'clock to hear from wonderful people, get great information, and to share your thoughts. And I'm just glad to have you with us. It isn't snowing, although somebody said it may snow sometime this week, and we're not going to listen to them. Because, last Friday I was on a golf course and it was 74. So I'm going to say it is not going to snow, but who knows? It's Michigan. What do we know? Thank you again for joining us. We've got a wonderful guest. He has not been with us for a while. So I'm so glad to have with us the Honorable Ken Siver, the mayor of Southfield. Welcome, Ken.
Well, Edna, it's good to be back. I've always enjoyed our conversations, so we'll have another.
Yes, we're going to have another conversation today. And this is probably timely because I think next week you have an election coming up in your city, don't you?
We do. We have city clerk on the ballot. There are 2 candidates for that office. And then we have a 2-year term on city council to finish the term of Jason Hoskins, who last year went to the House of Representatives in Michigan. So there are 2 candidates for that seat. And then there are 6 candidates for the 4 seats that are up. So there'll be a little change coming on council.
Yeah, that's a nice number of people running for those seats. So that makes things interesting.
Yeah.
I should say, interesting is probably a good word to call it, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we have 3 of the incumbents, Banks, Brightwell, and who's the other one? I'm sorry.
It'll come to you.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments. I have those frequently.
Actually, it's Coretta Hogue who was appointed, but she's sort of an incumbent in that she took Jason Hoskins' seat. And so Nancy Banks, longtime former clerk, and then Dan Brightwell. And the rest of the council is pretty much the same.
Okay, well, great.
Myron Frazier is another appointee who will be leaving council.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So everyone in Southfield, you've got an election next Tuesday. Please go to the polls and vote. That's who you vote for is your business, but that you vote is not your business. That's my business. That's everybody's business. You need to go to the polls. Whatever your thoughts are, you need to go vote.
Well, Edna, actually, it's easier this year. As you know, Michigan voters last November passed the amendment for early voting.
Yes, and it started already, hasn't it?
Well, yes, it did. It started on Saturday. The early voting is not required in a non-presidential election, but local communities can opt in. So sort of as a dry run for next year, when we'll have an interesting presidential
putting
election.
it mild.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've opted in, and we have early voting at Southfield City Hall.
Okay.
And it's 8 to 5 most days, except for Thursday this week. It's noon to 8 p.m.
Okay.
And people did come in over the weekend.
Good.
Saturday and yesterday,
And
Sunday.
it's available on Sunday also.
Yeah, right.
Great.
People did show up. It's, I think, something that is good.
Absolutely.
People are not quite used to it. I think next year we'll see more people participating in early voting because, you always, kind of a shame you get the 4-year voters.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That only show up every 4 years.
Every 4 years, yeah.
Yeah.
But the good news is you're getting them some practice on coming in.
Yeah.
So hopefully it won't be as hard to remember next year.
Right.
People, unfortunately, have some strange ideas about voting. And my hope is that the young people will get out and vote, because that's where we really need to concentrate in getting what I guess they call them millennials, or if that's the new name for them.
Record.
Yes.
Track record.
Terrible track record.
Yeah.
Terrible track record. I hope you're listening, young folk, and everybody's young folk to me, but for this purposes of this conversation,
And to me.
we're talking 21 to 40.
Yeah.
You people, and I'm calling you people. I know some of you get mad when you say you people, but I'm calling you people, you young folk, you younger folk need to go to the polls. And I bet you said, oh, it doesn't matter whether I vote or not. Nothing's got to change. Well, look at the student loan forgiveness.
Mhm.
What do you think might have happened had there been a different makeup of our people in Washington, D.C.? What do you think might have happened with that student loan forgiveness program had it been different? You might have gotten a lot of that forgiven. Most of you might have gotten that forgiven. So it does impact you. It does matter who is in Washington, D.C., who's in the state of House of Michigan, who's in the Senate of Michigan, who the governor is. It matters who sits in those seats. And so for those of you who have always said, oh, I'm not voting, I don't care, it doesn't matter. Well, think about it again. It does matter. So you need to get out.
And from my perspective, I've never wanted higher office other than being mayor, which a job I really enjoy. But and one of the reasons is because I feel I'm more impactful as mayor, or prior to that as councilman, on a day-to-day basis in people's lives. We're deciding a lot of things that impact our residents, our neighborhoods.
Talk about some of those things. I mean, I think it's important that people hear some of those things, because sometimes they don't even know.
For instance, we've just been working the last couple of years on major improvements to city parks. And sports or recreation tends to go through fads and trends, and things go up and down in popularity. So, for instance, we were running 2 golf courses and having to subsidize them to keep them open. There was a great interest in golf.
I know those 2 places.
Yeah. Well, there was a great interest in golf when Tiger Woods was originally a sensation, and a lot of, I'm going to go golfing. Well, there have been more, the competition for golf courses has greatly increased, and most cities cannot sustain 2 golf courses, and that was certainly the case. So in Southfield, so we closed Beechwood, which needed a lot of work. It's a beautiful setting. But contrary to rumors, it's not being sold for condos.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I too had heard that rumor.
So no, it's being redeveloped in a partnership with Oakland County, which there's been a shift in the county commission, and much more attention is being paid to the demographic center of Oakland County, South Oakland, than was in previous administrations. And so they've reached out to communities with a greater minority population, and are spending more parks and recreation dollars in the South End. So, which
is really, really important. Interestingly enough, my oldest grandson, who's a senior in high school now, was just received into a group called Midnight Golf. And they took the kids to Beechwood. And when he was younger, I had golf lessons, and I took them all to First Tee, and I bought all these clubs, and well, what happened? Nothing. And all of a sudden, he's gotten interested in golf again.
Oh, wow.
So I said, well, thank you, Beechwood, because he had just said he was playing soccer. He was a soccer person.
Sure.
But he thoroughly enjoyed going out there with the Midnight Golf group, getting back into practicing, because the practice facility is still available there.
The driving range.
The driving
which
range,
isn't going away. But we now are not subsidizing golf. With one course, it is profitable. There were years where we were spending $390,000 to keep 2 courses open. It's not sustainable. But talk about trends. We've just done makeovers in several parks, and we've added pickleball. I never heard of pickleball a couple of years.
I haven't either. I had not either. And I asked them, what the devil is pickleball? And they said, well, it's really miniature tennis between tennis and ping pong.
Yes, because you have paddles.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
I've still never played it, but at least I've
Well,
heard of it now.
For older people, when you look at the sport of tennis, especially on a global stage with the various tennis champions, it's a very strenuous sport.
Yes, it is.
To constantly going back and forth.
And the knees don't handle it as well as they used to when we get older.
So it's no wonder that people that are professional tennis players, they age out around age 40 or sooner. Shoulders, elbows,
all
knees,
all the above. Believe me, I remember.
So at any rate, pickleball is, especially if you play doubles, it's less strenuous, yet you're still getting exercise. You don't have to run as far.
Exactly.
And you have a paddle and so on. So we've added a number of pickleball courts. We've also been replacing all of the children's play equipment, the climbing and the swings and the so on and so forth. The kiddie structures in a number of our parks, they age out, they get worn out.
Sure.
So, and then the other thing that we're doing, we're trying to make Southfield a more walkable city. As a matter of fact, our efforts have been recognized by Michigan AARP.
Really? Okay.
We have been designated an age-friendly community. And part of it is because of all the strides we've made to make Southfield more age-friendly and walkable is part of it, as well as programming for seniors, communication, involving so that seniors aren't isolated. So, or an engagement is the word I was looking for. Anyhow, so parks are a big thing that we're working on, renewal of our parks and partnerships with Lawrence Tech, because here you've got a growing university whose enrollment is up to duplicate all of these facilities. So we're doing shared, we're building a new baseball field that'll be Lawrence Tech. And it'll be versatile field so that it's good for women's softball as well as Lawrence Tech's baseball team.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Their team ends. It's an early sport, so it starts I think in February and ends in April, and then our adult leagues and little league programs, they start in April. So
perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So you're maximizing use, and yet there's a lot of dollars to keep these facilities up. So it's one of the things that we're doing.
And I was just saying to my daughter the other day, I said, "Wow, I'm getting 1,000,001 calls about Medicare." And what do you need this? Do you need that? And I said, old people must really be a great commodity. That we're in high demand now. All of a sudden, we're the ones that they want to go to.
I get the mail solicitations.
Yes, all of that.
Yeah, between now and
December 7th.
Yeah.
Yes, right. I know the day.
It's high season.
Yes, it's high season. So I said, old folks are really we're top of the list now. So we're good. We're good. But when you talk about making things amenable and being with AARP and the kinds of things that are good for older people, there are probably more of us in some cases than there are of them now because we're living longer.
Yeah,
and that's because of the health advances.
And in Southfield, it's an aging community. We have people that have lived here for years. They love it here. Good city services. If you need police, fire, EMS, they come with well-trained, well-equipped people, and they come in a short amount of time. We have great parks, wonderful library,
and good shopping.
yeah. So we have a lot of older folks that don't want to leave, and so one of the things that we're working on is new housing, condos. So you can get out of you're an empty nester. You can get into something maybe smaller, or
If it doesn't have a lot of steps,
yeah,
that's the other piece.
So we have two projects underway, one private and one the city's nonprofit housing board has been involved in, for market rate. One's market rate condos, one is private market rate condos, and a third will be subsidized senior housing. But these are all one floor living.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I'm really proud of this because two of the facilities, again, you have demographic shifts. So in our case, we have a shift older. We have a lot of empty nesters. We have excess schools.
Yes.
So two former schools, elementary schools, are being converted into housing.
Really?
One will be 60 units of the John Grace Elementary School.
And where is that one located?
That's at 8 Mile and Inkster. It's on Indian Street. Yeah. It's about half a mile north of 8 Mile. That'll be subsidized senior housing. The school will be converted into rather subsidized senior housing, but there'll be an addition of another, I think it's 20 and 40 units plus.
Oh, wow.
Recreational facilities there, and we'll be adding sidewalks to the neighborhood. Again, walkability is key.
And the other thing is transportation also in the where that's being built won't be as difficult in terms of buses and so on.
And there's the Farmington Hills Care Center right on Shiawassee, right across Inkster Road. So we're partnering with them. They have a clothing store, they have a food bank, and veterans and social services there. There's also the Salvation Army food bank there for some of our seniors who, again, it's low income senior housing, but it's secure. It's new.
That's the other piece, security for seniors.
Yeah, it's secure, and there'll be activities. So it'll be a community.
That will be great.
And then the McKinley School, which is on George Washington Avenue, 1 block south of 10 Mile, 1 block in from Southfield Road. That school will be market rate condos. The elementary school will be 18 condos. The school didn't have an elevator. There'll be an elevator. Both schools will add elevators to. And then on the former playground and parking lot will be 22 units. All will have 2-car garages.
Oh my!
And again, it's a more upscale, so it's appropriate to the neighborhood. And those units will start now with inflation. I'm not sure, they were going to be around 350,000. But I'm extremely pleased with this. We cannot keep throwing everything away.
Exactly.
It's not sustainable.
No.
So
and we don't have a place to throw it.
But
on top of, we need to just keep stuff. But where are we going to continue to put stuff?
I'm not one to go around quoting people, but I do remember a quote from Winston Churchill that he obviously said many years ago. But we build things for one purpose. Times change. We have to find new uses. So you're talking to somebody who's a big believer in adaptive reuse.
Absolutely. And I thoroughly agree with you. And the other piece of that is some of the buildings we have are so beautiful.
Yeah.
They're just absolutely gorgeous. And to think of tearing some of these facilities down, it's just heartbreaking.
Well, McKinley School is college Gothic. It's got beautiful tile work, terrazzo floors, oak woodwork. In the kindergarten, now this is a 1929 school. In the kindergarten are these sand paintings of nursery rhymes. So
Wow.
Old Mother Hubbard, Little Boy Blue, Peter Pumpkin Eater. They're all
Wow.
painted on the wall, and they've survived for 1929. It's what,
Almost 100 years,
94
almost, yeah.
years. They're still
Wow.
there, and they're being preserved.
And they're going to preserve them. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
as it should be.
Yeah.
And I'm just so glad to hear that they're going to continue to.
And that kindergarten is going to be a community room.
Oh, that's neat.
So it's not
As
going
it
to
should
be a condo unit, but I've just got a signal, and I was actually going to lead right into this.
She's good at that.
Talk about adaptive reuse. So we have Northland Center.
I was just going to say one of my favorite places for you to talk about, since I had a little bit of help with that.
We've talked about this before.
Yes.
And it's moving right along. People ask me, well, what's happening at Northland? I said, well, have you driven down Greenfield Road? Oh, no, I haven't gone over there. Well, a lot is happening. And it's been over 2 years now that the city had taken the property because there was no really viable entity. There was a lot of interest in, if the city cleared the property, cleared the site, then we could develop it for you. But to clear it, it's going to be $20 million.
I was going to say that, but
that's
a lot of money.
Taxpayer dollars. So instead, we did environmental. We consolidated all of the properties, and we came up with a vision. And I know I've talked to you about this before, and you were very involved in creating that vision. So then what happened was all of the developer real estate types kept saying, no one's going to build that. No one's going to build your vision. You better take this factory. You better take this logistics center. Ken, you're making a mistake. Nobody's coming. I remember
those conversations.
Yeah, nobody's coming. And we held on to our vision. And I will, again, we were under tremendous pressure. Take this logistics center, have 200 trucks on your road every day. And we're trying to grow our population.
And at your entrance to your city, you're going to have that.
And it's a great place for that. And the fact that you've got the infrastructure, you've got 8 Mile Road, you've got the Southfield Freeway, you've got Northwestern Lodge. But no, we didn't want that. And so again, over and over again, take this logistics center because no one's going to build there, or they're not going to do it. So you're just going to have a vacant field forever. Well, in February, and I'll never forget the date, February 8th, 2020, I made somebody had told me there's this company out of Bloomfield Hills. They're a family company. They don't have a big online presence, but they specialize in taking properties that should be successful, but have had kind of fallen on hard times. And Northland was very profitable for a long time. Oh my
goodness, yes.
It shifted even after the big stores left. There were a lot of mom and pop individual people, retailers
that brought lots of people in.
Did very, very well.
Yes.
So, but as we all know, malls are closing left and right in this country, and retailing has changed. So, anyhow, I heard this company, it's called Contour. And so I invited them in, and actually I was inviting them in for the McKinley School project originally. And I'll never forget it. I'm sitting in the conference room, and I have this. Obviously, I'm a cheerleader for Southfield, and I have this speech that I do on why you should develop, why you should come to Southfield.
You were all ready to go. Huh?
And I've talked about a lot of it already in this hour, but nonetheless, halfway through this, and it usually goes 12, 15 minutes. I kind of wear people out a little. And
no.
The senior member of the Contour family, Pete Devocase, puts up his hand and says, "Mayor, stop. We want to be in Southfield. You're overselling." And I haven't had that.
And you didn't know what to do, did you?
So no, I didn't. So and they are developing the McKinley School.
Oh wow!
But they said, "What else you got?"
Okay.
And in the meantime, they had taken over an apartment on 9 Mile that had been mismanaged, and the former landlord. I call it putting lipstick on a pig. You make it look pretty
on the outside, the rest
on the outside, but you haven't done the bones of the building. So, for instance, in this apartment building, it's a 4-story building. One of the elevators went. So, what did they do? They got wallboard and boarded up as if there was never an elevator.
Wall.
Yeah.
Wow.
They also put a rider on the tenants' leases, which I'd never heard of. A rider that said, "I accept the conditions in this building as they are." Unbelievable.
Wow.
So anyhow, bye-bye to them. Contour took that building over and has done a beautiful job on it. So we had a deal going with Northland that involved raising growing marijuana in the basement, something we weren't thrilled with, but at any rate, that deal fell apart. And Contour said, "Well, what about Northland?" And originally the deal was 11 acres on Greenfield. And we thought, well, we'll go with that 11 acres on Greenfield because it'll bring something to the site. But I was disappointed because they only wanted to do 1 story.
Okay.
And up and down Greenfield, you've got multi-story buildings.
Yeah.
And that particular developer, who will go unnamed, said nobody's going to rent the 2nd floor. So anyhow, they were interested in the 11, and then they came back and said, "Well, we could take 30." And we started talking about that. And then they said, "Well, we'll take the whole thing because we've had this experience before because they concentrate on redevelopment of, we'll call them brownfields, not greenfields out in the edge of the city, but distressed properties." And so they said, everywhere we've done it, including Montgomery, Alabama, College Park, Georgia, Greenville, South Carolina, and they tend to work in minority-majority communities. They found that because they jumped in the water where other people wouldn't even put a toe in, but they're circling. As soon as they
jump in, everybody else wants to jump in.
And that's what's happening around Northland now. So 2 years ago, July, so it's been 27 months or so, Contour bought Northland. And then people said, "Well, I don't see much happening." Well, you have all this underground infrastructure.
You don't see it yet.
So all of the new sewer lines, sanitary, electric, gas, all of that is in retention pond.
Wow.
And then cleaning out anything that was not original Northland, 1954 Northland. And you remember this.
Oh, I do.
The
Hudson site and underground.
Yeah, 384 rooms.
Yes.
But also how well built it is.
Yes. You leave that there because you're never going to be able to tear that thing down. Yes.
And so, and again, that speaks to adaptive reuse. Why would you tear something down that is so well constructed And you remember this, we had an engineering study done that
Yes.
said you could build on those original foundations,
Mhm.
7 stories
Yes.
on the original foundations. So what is happening now is we've got Costco well under construction. We have another major retailer. Now, it's not going to be a mall,
Oh, okay.
but we have another major retailer going on Northwestern Highway.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be 11 5, 6, 7-story buildings. On Greenfield, all the first floor is retail.
Mm-hmm.
Many of those spaces have already been rented. They've been pre-leased. They'll probably start renting apartments in the first 2 buildings by January.
Is it going to be similar to what we initially laid out in terms of the walkability
Yeah, absolutely.
and
Green
the green
space.
space that we talked about?
Now, one thing that has changed from the original plan, remember we had a water feature
Mhm.
where a package pickup used
Yeah.
to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's all going to be filled in.
Okay.
There'll still be a driveway coming out of the basement
Mhm.
where the big rigs
Yes.
came in for the
Yes.
Hudson's,
Mhm,
the 5
deliveries.
tractor trailer
That's
bays.
something people would never believe
Yeah,
what
Well,
was underground.
25-foot ceilings
Yes.
underground.
Yes.
So there'll be about 1,000 parking spaces,
Oh.
well lit.
Mhm.
And then Hudson's store will become Hudson City Market with food, dining, entertainment, home furnishings, retail, boutique
Wow.
hotel, as well as loft apartments. 25-foot, 22-foot ceilings. Those are going to be nice loft apartments.
Those are going to be very, very
Yeah.
nice loft apartments. What's the timeline that we're talking about?
Well,
Be several
Costco
years
is
out.
shooting
Okay.
to open by the first of the year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the roof is
2024?
on. Yeah.
All right.
The apartments, the first apartments will start renting. The initial loads are in.
Mm-hmm.
I have a meeting coming up with Contour and the Suffolk Police Department as a community benefit. We are having a downtown police station there. We always had police presence.
Yeah. That's
So
great.
it's
Oh, my.
returning. Contour is building it. We'll lease it back to the city for $0. And
You worked out a pretty good deal there, Mr.
Well,
Mayor.
it's a community benefit.
Yeah,
you
it
know.
is. It is.
And they know for the success of their project that they need security.
Absolutely.
So they want that presence there.
That is incredible.
And so we're, Edna, we took you remember you were on the committee,
Yeah.
the Northland study committee. You remember we talked about a city within a city.
Yes, exactly. And that's
So
what's developing, it sounds
we're
like.
growing our tax base and we are growing our population. And if we had gone with the big boxes, there's no taxes from those.
No.
I mean, they're minimal.
No. Yeah, and it's not what we envision. We envision that being a people-friendly, be able to walk and ride your bike and walk your dog kind of community. And that's going to be great that's going to happen. But the other thing that I think is interesting that will be an enhancement also is that now that Henry Ford and Ascension are partners, that's going to be big.
We're very happy with that.
That's going to be big.
I want to just say for your listening audience about Miss Bell. I've known her for a long time, but we really got to know each other very well. She served on our Northland Study Committee, and we worked very hard on getting a vision for Northland, and you were part of that.
Yeah, that was one of the nicest projects I think I ever worked on because we were able to talk to the folks from Lawrence Tech and other community areas. I mean, it was a fun. It was a hard project because we worked some long hours getting that done, and but it was a really
you were part of that committee.
It was a really good project.
I appreciated your input, and I know you got to be pleased.
I am
where we're going.
I every time I pass by there, I think, oh, gee, to think I was a part of that. That's pretty special. Pretty special. Now, question: what's going to happen to the Michigan was it the Michigan Hotel? What was it
Or the
called?
Plaza.
The Plaza
It was
Hotel.
originally in
But
Michigan.
and what's going to happen to that hotel, or what used to be a hotel?
You know, this is a bit very, very painful. The owner is out of country.
Mhm.
They're Canadian,
Mhm.
and they've held on to this property, and they've played game
I
after
remember
game.
that when before they were playing games with it.
Still
And that's
playing
horrible.
games, but I think we're in the best place now in over a decade. In that it's in receivership.
Oh, good. I understand, but not good, but good.
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't
Well-
say good as a receivership,
well,
but we want them to get out of there.
I had a meeting just last week
Mhm.
with someone who's got the capital and wants to turn it into housing,
Mm.
and be mixed use,
Mhm.
which again
So
is the way to go. I mean,
Yeah.
why this country ever got away from mixed use
Mhm.
when it did? If you want street life and people, 24/7 city, you need mixed use. You need,
Absolutely.
you know,
You need restaurants and
yeah,
you know,
and
all that
people
shopping
living and working, and
mhm.
there's something called a 15
Shopping.
minute
Yeah.
15-minute neighborhood. You can walk to anything. So at any rate, it's in chapter 7,
Mhm.
which means we have more control
Mhm.
that the receiver.
Good.
So for instance, now there's fencing all around it.
Mhm.
It's been swept of vagrants, and
Good.
we have somebody that has the capital that
To do it.
wants to buy it
Wow.
and would move their corporate office from
Oh.
Bloomfield Hills,
Into that spot.
and so it would be a mixed office
right.
housing, and
That would be great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
That would
So
really be.
our fingers are crossed.
We're gonna pray on that. We're gonna
Yeah.
cross our fingers. We all gonna pray
Yeah.
on that. We're gonna send
Yeah.
some good thoughts
Yeah.
up there someplace.
Yeah.
That would be
We
wonderful.
really want to see. Again, it's a solid building.
Mhm.
It's wrecked inside
Mhm.
from years of neglect, but
The bones are okay.
Yeah, the bones are okay. So it needs to be, really gutted.
Mhm.
It needs all new HVAC, electrical, plumbing, security.
All of that.
Yeah, but structurally, there's nothing wrong with the building.
And that's the piece. As long as there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong structurally,
Yeah.
the rest of it you can
Yeah.
work on.
Right.
I am
And-
so
and-
glad to hear that.
And on the first floor, it's got magnificent public spaces.
Yes, yes. I mean, I
Very
remember
large
that building
ballroom.
30, 40 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh my.
going to conferences.
Yes,
there, absolutely, and
conferences there.
events. Yeah.
And not only that, I remember having gone to a concert somewhere downtown, and the group who was having the concert was staying at that hotel and
Yeah.
invited folks back to their suites at
Yeah.
at that hotel
Yeah.
for a party afterwards. And so, yeah, that was a great spot.
Well, in our younger days, we used
Well,
to
we used to do those.
more of those things.
Yes.
I used to go to the Red Parrot there. Remember
Okay.
the
Yes,
Red
I sure
Parrot?
do. I sure do. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we might meet there after work rather,
Mhm.
at the end of the week.
Mhm. So yeah, there were
at the
lots
Red
of
Parrot. That was a nice place to hang out on a Friday
yes.
afternoon.
But I'm so excited about the Northland project to see those. And Costco's going to be open by the first of the year.
They're going gangbusters. The
Oh,
roof
that
is
is-
on.
That is so wonderful.
I go by there at least once a week.
That will be so much closer for me to go than any of the other Costco's.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that'll be
No,
great.
this is going to be a little different Costco.
Okay.
It's called a business Costco.
Mhm.
So they're targeting restaurants and retail.
Mhm.
But if you have like you have a Costco membership, you can use it there. You just may not find as many.
Stuff
Yeah,
that you.
and
That's okay.
it's a huge store.
Yeah.
Yet it's not. I mean, when you drive by there, you go, "Wow, this is amazing how big it is." but it's going to be a slightly different. It's a new model Costco
Okay.
that the company is. And they've you may remember this, that they flirted with us for over 6 years.
I remember.
Yeah.
I do.
And it was going to be either here or Oak Park in the old
What was that? The Armory
the Armory,
building? Yeah.
right? That Armory property that now has FedEx and Forgotten Harvest, and all of what's happened on the Oak Park Southfield side of 8 Mile. I'm very pleased to see, because again, you have great accessibility.
Yes.
And things get tired. They need renewing.
Absolutely.
Things don't last forever,
That's
as
right.
we know.
And they don't. And the one thing that I'd love to see, and I think we probably talked about this before also, is the underpass on Greenfield coming from going north from Detroit into Southfield. I just always think that we need to do something with that.
Well, I have something going.
Funny, I should ask.
There are no lights there.
I don't know lights. It's ugly. I mean, something could happen good with that.
Working with the 8 Mile Boulevard Association, working with the City of Detroit, City of Oak Park, and Contour and City of Southfield, we are going to underlight with LED lights, multicolored lights. So you're going to know that you're going into Detroit when you reach that bridge. If you're going south, you're going to know you're going into Southfield or Oak Park when you're going north. And the lights, it's unbelievable how expensive this is, because there's no electricity there.
Yes.
I mean, you have to work with MDOT. It's their bridge. But we are going to underlight the bridge, and the lights will shine down, but they'll change colors on the pillars.
Wow.
So there are at least a dozen pillars that support the upper
bridge,
deck of the bridge. All of those will be lit.
Oh, that is so great. I'm so glad to hear that, because every time I drive it, I think to myself, there's got to be something we can do
Contour's very excited
to make
about
this more appealing. That's great. And even if we were able to do some murals on the
Well, we talked about that.
sides,
we originally got a grant for about $22,500 for murals. And we've done a number of murals in the city of Southfield, and they tend to weather because it's outdoors. And so I went back to the 8 Mile Boulevard Association, which awarded the grant to Oak Park and Southfield and to Oak Park, and I said, can we go a little higher vision here? I have seen these underlit underpasses, these that are lit with LED multicolored lights, and they're exciting. The city of San Antonio, for instance, Texas, when urban renewal came in, and like in a lot of American cities, they bring in clear the, and so they bring in these highways, and they're kind of ugly, and they're not pedestrian friendly. So in San Antonio, they've underlit them.
That's great.
With multicolored lights, and they make them inviting, where sometimes they're scary.
Well, that's right. That's right. I am just so glad you had so much to tell us. All the things I asked you had the answers to. My goodness, there's one, which means that you got to have to come back.
Well,
as things progress, you're going to have to come back, because there's more stuff I want to talk about as we move forward. That this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
I've missed having a conversation like this with you.
So I am so glad we had a chance to do this, and we'll have another chance to do this. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking that we're going to put you on the regular rotation, so you can come back and report to us on a regular basis what's going on. That would be great. Everyone, audience, Mayor of Southfield, Michigan, Ken Siver. Ken, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you.
And he'll be back, everybody. He'll be back on a regular basis to update us on what's going on. Thank you so much for joining us on the Community Bell Show. We'll see you next Monday, 4:00. Don't be late. Have a great week. Take care. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.